So really what it helps people do is take data, whether it be leads that they've got opt-in or they've bought it from a wholesaler, and says it takes this data and uses that data as well as augmented data, and it runs it through machine learning. So if you took someone with your 30 years of experience, you would be able to identify that's a good potential place to go find a deal, to go sell them solar, to change the roof. You would be able to look at all these data points and say, yes, that's what Reworked AI does. The algorithms take the collective knowledge based on history, based on actual installs and actual changes, and says, this is a client that is more likely to convert and more likely to be interested in having a conversation about your product. To bring it to the solar world, when we decided in August, September of last year that we wanted to, that we felt there was an opportunity in the solar install world. The easy part is building the algorithms, putting the algorithms together, right? That's not the most difficult part. The most difficult part is the data, right? So you've got the algorithms together, you've got the machine, and we call her Betty. Now you've got to feed Betty, right? So we fed Betty several million lines of houses all over the country. And we told her this house doesn't have solar and this house does have solar. Then she's going out there and she's pulling the demographic information, she's pulling the characteristics of the house, the characteristics of the roof, the characteristics of the shade of the roof, and she's building a scatter plot for each of those properties. And then as she's compiling these millions of lines of data, she's seeing the scatter plots that have installed solar, and she's comparing them to each other. And then there's a grouping, a commonality of why somebody installed solar. It's not just one single data point. There's a lot of companies that talk about, well, we do some predictive understanding of what this house could be. You can't make an accurate prediction based on one or two data points. Betty is using up to 50 data points when she's looking at a property. She's thinking of the owner of the property as well as the structure of the property, both the economics, their history, marital status, all these things that, thank goodness in the United States, are available for a fee to make a decision, as well as the structure of the property.
Yeah, because when we built the solar model, like on the real estate side, we were using demographic information as our core data to actually feed the models, right? We did the same thing with solar. And right off the bat, we got like a high 80% accuracy, which is good, but not great, right? So
it's not commercially viable, 80%.
And then we realized, hang on a second, there has to be a lot more data to be fed in to actually build a model. And that's where we came up with, the roof characteristics, right? And the building characteristics. So all of these combined, we're seeing a lot more higher accuracy than even what we saw in real estate at this point in time of our, company.
So to the point of the millions of data that has trained Betty, and now we're done with testing, right? Although you're never really done with testing, now we've got customers using it. And the feedback is the high 90s. I mean, we call it 99, but it sounds dodgy, right? But it is that good to be able to say that person is your likely prospect. It starts with your credit score range, the movement of the credit score, right? Marital status, children, houses owned, properties owned, membership, subscriptions. And that is indicative, because Betty has looked at several million rows of people that have converted. She sees, okay, these people that have bought solar, their demographic scatter plot looks like this. So then when she looks at yours, it's very far away. And this is nothing more than a predictive analysis, right? This doesn't tell you where the needle is. It just says it's probably not over here, right? And so it's the demographics of the individual. There's 26 demographic points and then another 24.
When you say our data is 99% accurate, does that mean if I knock on 100 of these doors, 99% of them are going to buy? What's that accuracy mean?
That's a good. So the accuracy that we measure is basically with blind tests or even open tests, right? So our customers and we ourselves are always testing our algorithms. The algorithms are getting updated very frequently, say once in 2 weeks, right? We have to test before we deploy, because the new one that we're deploying has to be better than the previous one, right? So the way we test that is basically by, showing or giving the algorithm known deals, right? Like known installs, known deals. We hold some away. We don't show it to the algorithm, and we test it against the holdout, is what we refer to as a holdout. And how many of the holdout, meaning when I say holdout, I mean, let's say I have a data set of about 1,000 records, right? Out of the 1,000 records, there were 20 deals. Was Betty able to predict the 20? What percentage of that? But also, what percentage of the 1,000 was it actually able to eliminate?
Exclude, yeah.
Right? Because Betty could very well easily say, hey, yeah, all 1,000.
I got all of them.
Right?
Okay, so
Right, but there was nothing included.
So let me, because this is, I mean, we've had two conversations now, and this piece made the most sense. So the accuracy is, you have Betty, and you're giving Betty known data, 1,000 homes, where 20 people have solar.
That's right.
And Betty's able to tell you these 19.99 people have solar.
And eliminate at least 500 of them, right? Meaning don't bother contacting these people because these people are not going to install solar.
So we're going down the product path, and the output from Betty is a predictive score, right? In the solar world, we've got two scores that add up to the total score. So this is the use case, right? Someone is either buying opted-in leads, right? They're buying them from a wholesaler saying, I've got 1,000 leads. They're acting on them. They are calling, they are reaching out, they're mailing, they're knocking, whatever they're doing on those leads, probably calling. The use case for Betty is to score those leads, because not all opt-in leads are the same. Just because I might be interested in getting solar, I might be renting my house, I may be broke, right? I may not have any equity in it. I may be going through a divorce, right? All kinds of things that could preclude me. So rather than act on all 1,000, Betty can tell you, hey, there's 620, that's where you should go, and reorders them. So the information comes back, it's got your predictive score on the far right-hand side. It says start here, work your way down to line 592, and then get another list, because these are not going to convert, right? If you're looking in the door knocking world, and this is what we were talking about the other day, it's the ability to soften, right? In one of your points that I thought was interesting, I've been thinking about all weekend and trying to come up with the formula, it's the deals, appointments set, or deal ratio to miles walked, right? Or miles walked. And in our case, we're saying, yeah, the door knocker will more than likely have to travel further. Rather than knocking on 100 doors, they're going to knock on 80. But rather than getting 20 appointments and 5 deals, they're going to get 40 appointments and 20 deals. So their inefficiency of walking that's where they'll lose a bit of efficiency, but they're going to get more appointments and more deals because they're going to houses that the algorithm said, yeah, this person's going to be a likely conversion for you.
Okay, and just, because this can be pretty complicated for us cavemen on the streets to understand. So go back to this 1,000 records that a certain number of them have solar. You give these 1,000 records to Betty. Betty predicts the right amount of people have already bought solar.
Sure.
Excluded some with bad credit scores, renters, etc. That additional pool of, let's call it 200 homeowners, are those houses that are still sellable?
Yes.
Yeah.
Even though Betty hasn't predicted.
Yes, totally.
Okay. So explain that a little bit, because the way I undertook it when I was like, well, does that mean I just don't knock on those 980 doors, or why didn't Betty predict that those people could buy solar?
No. So going with your case, there's 1,000, right? Betty is traditionally predicting about 53%, right? But that'll vary because she does not grade on a curve. She's not looking at this property in comparison to the next property in the list. She's looking at the merits of that property and owner individually. So say you put 1,000 in, Betty says, these 530, here's where your deals are. Those are the ones that you knock, right? She's not going to tell you of those 1,000, these 20 are your customers. Not yet. She's just saying, again, she's not telling you where the needle is. She's just saying there's no needles over here. Don't waste your time. Don't do any mailers. Don't knock their door. It's a waste of time. So you still got to sell, right? Betty is not replacing the age-old act of convincing somebody to spend money and that your product is good. It's just telling you, don't go over there, go here. And it's fundamentally an efficiency game, right? This is what this is about. Whether you're knocking, direct mail, phone calls, it's about making sure your resources are as efficient as possible and have the highest chance of success. So you're not spraying and praying. You're not knocking every single door in every neighborhood. You're being more targeted. This is what we see on our social media, on our smartphones and Netflix and TikTok. It's all machine learning based on the data that you've given those algorithms of what you want next. This is it's bringing digital to an analog world.
Kind of a two-part question. Has anybody used Betty's data outside of door knocking? And then how have people used it if they are knocking?
So the easiest way from a non-technical standpoint, like me and you, Betty fits in right after raw data, right? Whether you're buying that data or you're getting the data, you're buying a lead. That's when it goes through Betty. And then that information is overlaid for a door knocker. Just what you said. We've had customers that say, okay, whoa, that's a low target environment. I'm not putting my resources on the street there. I'm going to go over here. This is 70% is where Betty thinks there's an opportunity. So instead of putting my resources here, I'll do direct mail there, right? So Betty doesn't replace any of this outreach. It just makes sure whether you're cold calling, direct mailing, or knocking, that you can be more tactical. But it fits in right after the data and then before your action. And it gives owners and directors of sales and door knockers insight and intelligence about what they're about to do, right? So rather than blindly running into the wall, one of the things that you guys do is you're teaching people how to do it. This is the opportunity for them to be more effective because they're going to go in with a higher probability of success, right? So it's after data collection and before action. Once Betty has done that, then it gives the owner or the director or whoever, hey, whoa, I don't want to do that. That's not good. So it's just a matter of getting intelligence in advance of your action.
How do we use that? If I ran a call center, how would I use Betty's data to call better lists?
So you could replace your current data supplier and say to Betty, hey, I need 20,000 in these 4 counties, right? Give me 20,000 high probabilities. And then she's going to give you 20,000 high probabilities, not based on your data, but based on the millions of lines that she's already run. She's going to go out, do her thing, and come back and give you 20,000.
And then if they have phone numbers, you have that, and you throw them into dialer.
You still need to skip trace it. Right? Betty does not skip trace. We always encourage people doing calling, get it skip traced by a top notch, right? So you keep out of trouble. If you're a door knocker and you're in a CRM that provides a canvassing app, say, okay, I want to look at these neighborhoods, and you've got you're able to get all the households, right? You take that data and you run it through Betty, and then you can get your Betty score and you can overlay it on your map and say, exactly like you said, that's not a good neighborhood. I'm going to mail in that neighborhood and let them call me rather than having to put my resources out there. There is no one way to do it, right? The most important thing we want people to take away is it gives you intelligence and it gives you insight about what you're about to do. So as a business owner or a head of a sales department, you can make smart decisions based on your own history because you're getting advanced knowledge of what your team, whether you're calling or knocking or mailing. In the real estate world, it saves people about half of their mailers. 65% of our customers in the real estate world, they use it to scale. So they said, no, my budget's $15,000 a month in mailers. I'm going to keep that budget. So now instead of 15,000 raw mailers I'm sending out or my previous scrubbing, I'm going to get 30,000 lines of data and get down to 15,000. So if I was getting 100 properties based on my 15,000, now I'm expecting to get 193. Right? Same marketing expense, same cost. I'm just getting a better product out the door to a better target so I can get double the deal. So about 65% in the real estate world use it to scale. Some are like, no, I'm going to lower my cost to keep my deal flow the same. The bottom line is there's no one prescribed way to do it. It's just a matter of saying this machine learning can allow people to make smarter decisions. So the pricing, it runs from 45 cents a line to 20 cents a line, right? Depending on how much you want to run through it. There's no commitment.
A line is?
A house, a structure, a person, right? So if you've got 10,000, you're going to be in the 30 to 33 cents, right?
What's that? Do the math. Is that
$330?
$330.
Okay, $330.
Right, and that should be able to, historical averages, cut out half of your activity. We've spent a lot of money on data acquisition and augmentation to build, it's the pharmaceuticals, right? That first pill is $1 billion. The second pill is 1 cent, right? The training and the building of the algorithm to get it where it is was very expensive. Running that now, it gets cheaper, and that's why we're comfortable talking about prices, because we're in the sense, because it's our major cost is computing power and augmenting data.
And we'd be very open to, of course, white labeling, and the larger company, the canvassing company, might sort of have it as a premium feature, right, on their platform.
Right.
And you could call it Betty or call it whatever they want.
Reworked.ai, right? My email is fred@reworked.ai. Shyam's email is Shyam, which is SHYAM @reworked.ai, or admin@reworked.ai. You can go to our website. There's a button to book a call. We get on a Google Meet and chat through your personal circumstances of what you want to do. That's where we get a lot of our feedback. We love those calls because it helps us learn about what people are going through. And we'll also be at D2D Con, right? We're really looking forward to that.